It is the eve of the 2023 Formula 1 season, and that can mean only one thing: it's prediction time. Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Joe Tyrrell, and welcome back to GP Blog. Yep, you guessed it, today is the day we are going to be doing our 2023 Formula 1 Drivers' Championship predictions. From 20th all the way to top dog, we're going to be predicting every position. If you've watched my prediction videos in the past, you'll know I love a bold prediction, so strap yourself in. Here's our 2023 Formula 1 World Championship predictions. The bottom 5. Honestly, in my opinion, from 10th downwards is absolutely anyone's game, and it could have been a combination of any drivers, but ultimately our bottom 5 looks like this. I'm predicting Logan Sargeant to finish last in his debut Formula 1 season, because unfortunately for him, he doesn't have much going for him. Rookie season, little experience in Formula 1, and he's racing for last season's worst team. He really hasn't got much in his favour. Joining him at the back is Guan Yu Zhou. He showed flashes of class in his first season in F1, but his points return was disappointing. In front of them are Hulkenberg, Albon and Magnussen. Hulkenberg is returning to Formula 1 after a few years away from the sport, despite his handful of one-off appearances as a reserve driver. His quality and experience is undoubted, but I think his years out of the sport will cost him, especially as it's in a new generation of cars. I'm really hoping Alex Albon can do well, as we've seen what he's capable of, but a lot depends on the resources Williams can provide him with, so for that reason, he's no higher than 17th. And rounding out the bottom 5 is Kevin Magnussen. He'll beat his teammate, but purely because he's already got that year under his belt. Haas's form nosedived in the second half of the season, but when they did get a result, it was normally down to him in 2022, so he managed to scrape in at 16th. From last to 16th then, we have Logan Sargeant, Guan Yu Zhou, Nico Hulkenberg, Alex Albon and Kevin Magnussen. 15th to 11th. The no man's land of Formula 1 finishes. You're not in the points, but you've not been so terrible that you're either last or in the bottom 5. However, coming close is Yuki Tsunoda, who hasn't been as impressive as many were expecting, Helmut Marko included. Beaten by Pierre Gasly in both their seasons together, Tsunoda has to beat Nick de Vries, but I don't think he will. P15 for Tsunoda. One place higher is Nick de Vries himself. Not a groundbreaking result, but he'll beat his teammate and that's crucial. It really depends if the AlphaTauri is any better than last season, because it was really bad. Valtteri Bottas is a class act in my opinion, disrespected because he couldn't match the greatest of all time, and all of a sudden he's a bad driver. I don't buy it. Alpha were terrible in the second half of last season, but Bottas is an excellent driver. It's P13 for the Finn. A controversial one, Oscar Piastri will finish 12th. McLaren after testing look terrible and they're in trouble in my opinion. Debut season, a struggling team and the expectation of arriving at McLaren. I think he'll be 12th. And rounding out the bottom 10, we have Lance Stroll. We still don't even know if he's going to race the season opener, but the Aston Martin looks really good, so that's getting him up the grid. Stroll gets a lot of undeserved stick in my opinion, but I think he struggled last year. The Aston Martin will drag him to P11. So to round up 15th to 11th, we have AlphaTauri pair of Yuki Tsunoda and Nick de Vries in 15th and 14th respectively. Valtteri Bottas is in 13th, with the McLaren of Piastri 12th, and Lance Stroll recovering from his cycling accident to finish in 11th. The top 10. For me, I think the top 10 drivers is actually quite easy to predict. It's just in which order you have them that makes it a lot more difficult. So in at number 10 is Pierre Gasly. I think even he admitted 2022 wasn't a good year for him, and so I think his move to Alpine comes at a good time. A fresh start for a driver who I rate really highly. Does he beat his teammate though? It's a big ask in his first season with Alpine. Ocon will know all of the employees, the technology and everything else, so he's got something of a head start. However, I think P10 is more than respectable for Gasly, and just ahead of him will be the other McLaren of Lando Norris. He really did drag the McLaren up the field last season, and P7 in the standings was a fantastic result. However, McLaren look even worse this year, and if Piastri starts to get some results and put him under pressure, it will be fascinating to see how he responds. The safe money is on Norris to beat him, but it could be a tough year for McLaren. P8 is Esteban Ocon, another driver I rate really highly. He's getting stronger and stronger with each passing year at Alpine. Just beating him is his former teammate, Fernando Alonso. I have really high hopes for him this season, and I think pre-season testing went really well, and Aston Martin are really pushing the top teams. Breaching the gap to Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari is a huge ask, but if anyone can, Fernando can. So just to recap, before we get into the title race, P10 to P7 is Pierre Gasly, Lando Norris, Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso. The title race. Now we're into the business end of things. I'm immediately ruling out 2 drivers, Carlos Sainz will finish 6th in the standings. Carlos is one of my favourite drivers and I think he's underrated. However, I think he's the weakest of the 6. I think that's just realistic, but on his day, he's class. The other driver is Sergio Perez, and my main reason for this is because there is not a hope in hell that Red Bull let him win the title over Max Verstappen. I think this is actually to his detriment, and he could finish higher if he had the freedom, but I don't think Red Bull give him a chance, so 5th it is for Perez. The top 4 is tight, but missing out on a podium spot is Charles Leclerc. One day, Ferrari are incredible, world-beating in fact, and the next, well, let me put it this way, they wouldn't look out of place at soapbox racing down some British high street. Their inconsistency cost them last season, and I don't see that changing. I'm sorry Italian fans, I just don't. So for that reason, Leclerc is finishing 4th. Now the battle of the top 3. Max Verstappen, George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. Red Bull versus Mercedes, 2 versus 1. I'm predicting a 3-way battle for the crown between these 3 drivers, but finishing 3rd is George Russell. Last season, Russell outperformed Hamilton, and fair play to him. I just don't think it will happen again in 2023. He'll be in and around the title race for much of the season, but will drop off with a few races to go. And then there were 2. A repeat of 2021, 2 greats of the sport. Verstappen starts a strong favourite for obvious reasons, but Hamilton is hungry for an 8th World Championship. So who will it be? Drum roll please. The 2023 Formula 1 World Champion will be Lewis Hamilton. If you've watched any of my recent videos, you'll already know that I've backed Mercedes, so there was only one possibility really. I've sort of made my bed and now I have to lie on it. But I think they should be feared, and what better way for Hamilton to win an 8th world title than by righting the wrongs of 2021. Unlucky Max, but you'll be finishing 2nd in 2023. So let's wrap this up. From 20th to 16th we have Logan Sargent, Guan Yu Zhou, Nico Hulkenberg, Alex Albon and Kevin Magnussen. Then it's the AlphaTauri pair of Tsunoda and De Vries with Valtteri Bottas in 13th. Piastri and Lance Stroll complete the bottom half of the grid. At the halfway mark is Pierre Gasly with Lando Norris in P9. Esteban Ocon is just pipped to best of the rest by Fernando Alonso. Now the big boys. Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez are competitive but not title winners, and Charles Leclerc just misses out on a podium. The bronze medal goes to George Russell, and Max Verstappen won't quite make it 3 in a row, missing out to a rejuvenated Lewis Hamilton. So those are our predictions. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Enjoy the Bahrain Grand Prix, but until next time, have a wonderful week. I've been Joe Tyrrell, and I'll see you soon.